Hi there, Serial Trader here. Well, given the nice dump tonight on Bitcoin, I think it warrants a little update. So, in the last video, I was debating with myself essentially whether we would have a more immediately bullish scenario and hold a level above this 47,000 area that we had before, or whether we would have to go and dump and take out that level to do a further correction. Well, we've certainly taken out that level. Now here on Bitfinex, we went as low as 46,601, so actually not a huge violation there of the 47 area. But I've seen on other exchanges 45,000 and some other numbers, so it depends what you're looking at. But nonetheless, we have taken out that prior low, so I think this warrants a bit of a relabeling here. Now, a couple things I'll go through. So I think we can just safely call this 5 waves down for A, a 3-wave move up for wave B, and I went through in the last video the possibility that we had a leading diagonal wave a B wave, and then an ending diagonal wave C. I mentioned how kind of unusual but still technically valid that was. Well, it happened to be the correct interpretation in this particular case, but definitely one of the rarer ones. I can't really recall the last time I saw a leading diagonal with a B wave and then an ending diagonal to finish a sequence, but here you go, a decent example of that. Now we're on the daily chart, so you can't see subdivisions nearly as well here. And what I think we're doing here is working our C wave down, 5-wave sequence down for wave C, and it appears that we got a 1-2. Obviously that was our 3, that big spike down, leaning that we need a 4 and a 5 to complete. Got some objectives here as far as relationships between A and C. So the equality relationship, kind of ideal, would be at 41,872. The 786 relationship between A and C, which we've come close to hitting. Well, I know we've hit on some exchanges, but on this exchange we didn't quite hit it. That's at 45,664. So those are some areas of interest. 4-hour chart. So yeah, we're calling this the 1, the 2, the 3, and let's just see what kind of relationship, out of curiosity, what kind of 3 versus 1 relationship did we have? It looks like it's a pretty good one. Is 3 twice the length? Oh, look at that. Almost bang on. So wave 3 was almost a perfect, at least on Bitfinex here. Nearly a perfect twice the length of wave 1. So that's a nice third wave kind of action. Definitive. Good good length compared to 1. It's always a little skeptical when you get a third wave that's only as long or just maybe slightly longer than wave 1 or not even as long. That doesn't add confidence. But when you get a nice definitive third wave, it makes me more embracing to expect a fourth wave here and not just a immediate resumption upwards. Okay, well, that's just interesting. Now, fib retracement. So we'll take the retracement of the third wave, give us some fourth wave targets. Well, we've already come up close to the 38.2% retracement. Of course, the 50 would be another fairly typical one for a third wave. So there's some retracement zones. Now, given the length of time that wave 2 unfolded in, you would expect at least a proportional, and also wave 2 was sharp, so maybe we'll get a sideways triangle wave 4 or some sort of more complex pattern. But just as far as a time expectation, so here is on the 4-hour chart, the duration of wave 2. We'll project that off of the termination point of wave 3. So that vertical line here just gives us at least a little bit of a guide as to how long the wave 4 could last, and it could certainly go longer. In fact, wave 4 is often longer than wave 2 as far as time duration. Okay, and then we will be looking for, if this goes according to plan, after we get this corrective fourth wave, we will be looking for one more move down here for 5 of C. And if we get that and we do a nice completed 5-wave move, I think that will be an exceptional entry point for at least a trade. I don't know if you'll get an entry point that'll just lead to new highs right away, and let me explain. And I'll go more in depth about this perhaps on a weekend update video, but just for now. So it's still very possible. Now I went through this a while back, but I think I'll do it again on the weekend just to refresh the information. But it is possible that the large degree wave 3, I don't have anything labeled here, but just bear with me. The large degree wave 3 did end at just under 65,000 here on Bitfinex. And if that is the case, going out to this weekly chart, so remember we got this big wave 1, this big wave 2. We are working the big wave 3. Now if that was in fact the end of the big wave 3, then we're going to need not just a price correction, which obviously we're certainly in the midst of here, but we're going to need a time correction that's at least, proportional to this wave 2, which was a very long, and again, I've gone through this before, very long, in the world of crypto, this would be considered a very long time period. Everyone likes to think in short time periods, it seems, right now in crypto, but to give some perspective, if we did in fact finish that larger wave 3 there at the 65 area, then the unfolding price action for wave 4 is just beginning, and for it to just simply match wave 2 in duration, not exceed it, but just to match it, again, I think I've mentioned this before, but just to reiterate, that would bring us to near the end of December, so near the end of the year, possibly into early next year. And I've mentioned this before also, that that's kind of a interesting time often in Bitcoin and crypto in general, where you get major highs or lows. So I kind of like the timing there if we do in fact have that wave 3 top in place. But all that aside, let me go back to the more immediate situation at hand here. So if that's the case, then this might just be working ABC for an initial wave W of a still larger WXY or WXYXZ or something else. And I mean, I don't normally compare gold and Bitcoin just because, who cares? But in this case, I will, just because gold had kind of something that reminds me of this. And just bear with me. Let me go to the gold futures chart. And I'll go to the weekly chart. Now, I'll show you what I mean. Now, keep in mind this is a weekly chart. So this top here in gold, the all-time high, was in August of 2020. And we appear to have bottomed there in March of 2021. Okay, so that's quite a lengthy correction. But at the time, okay, I remember this, thinking like, okay, we have some sort of perhaps wave 3 peak here in gold at 2089. And then I would go in on that daily chart over here, and it looked like we had, a nice A wave down, then we had an A, B, C, D, E, triangle B, and then we had a C wave down, 5 down for C. It looked like a nice A, B, C, and okay, correction looks mature, and here's an entry point. Well, it was an entry point, and taking it, you certainly would have had some upside, but that was just an A, B, C for a W, and just bear with me here, of a much larger, okay, W, X, Y, X, Z, okay? So it was just one corrective pattern within a much more complex series of corrective patterns that ended up taking, many, many months, August to March, okay? So it's very possible that, let me just kind of isolate, okay? It's very possible that we're kind of just here on Bitcoin. And yes, an entry, at least shorter term, is shaping up because we're completing this initial 3-wave pattern. But just look at what can happen when you're in a larger degree correction. It can just keep going for quite a long time before it finishes. And I'll probably do a separate gold video soon, because I do really think gold did put in the low in March there at 1673. And that we are working the initial 5-wave sequence off that low, and then of course we'll look for a corrective decline, and that'll be probably a sweet entry for a nice gold uptrend there. But I don't want to spend too much time on gold. But I just wanted to highlight that we may be beginning the same thing here in Bitcoin, or something similar, where, okay, yes, we have a corrective move from our recent all-time high, and looks like we're getting close to finishing that corrective move. But is it going to be a corrective move that is then quickly fully retraced, or is it just the initial correction within a much longer lasting complex corrective period that, again, if that is the wave 3 peak at our recent all-time high, it could easily take us towards the end of the year before we should really be getting too excited about another big bullish run. That's all I'm getting at here. Anyway, maybe I'll go into some greater detail on a weekend video, go in more depth. But here, okay, so back to the 4-hour chart. Sorry if I'm getting sidetracked here a bit, but I just want to try and frame this a certain way. So on this more immediate time frame, yes, we're bouncing off of a nice spike down there. I think we need one more flush down to complete a 5-wave sequence. At least that's my ideal, and some lower targets there for a good entry. I guess anywhere in the low 40s looks pretty solid for an entry. Okay. So that's really what I want to go through there today. Oh, and also, let's just talk about, I guess you call it the news associated with this price action. So Elon Musk, interesting guy. So a while back, when Bitcoin was at, substantially lower levels than even I think what it currently is at right now, despite this pullback we've had, Elon Musk announces that, he's bought Bitcoin personally. Tesla has purchased Bitcoin on their corporate balance sheet. They're going to be accepting Bitcoin as payment for Tesla vehicles, and we had quite a significant price movement, at least associated with the news. I always hesitate to say it caused it, but it certainly was associated, at least coincidental with the price action. As you probably know, I'm more of a believer in the market doing what it's going to do, and the news kind of just being a side piece to all that. But there are times when it certainly seems to fit nicely, the story at least, right? So in this case, Elon's made a big reversal on his, I don't know, his view or opinion of Bitcoin, seemingly out of nowhere. And now what he's said tonight that was associated with the spike down, he's, he's not so sure about Bitcoin anymore, and because of, his reservations about the carbon footprint or the emissions or whatever, blah, 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 associated with Bitcoin mining, as the ethical man that he is, you should see my air quotes while I'm doing that, Tesla will no longer be accepting Bitcoin as payment, and obviously that's at least a short-term, or at least viewed as a short-term negative for Bitcoin. Now here's the thing, Bitcoin existed and was doing very well long before Tesla had anything to do with it, and I'm sure it can continue if Tesla ceases to have anything to do with it. But that's just the news for the day, right? At least associated, not necessarily causing, but some will definitely argue it caused it, but in my opinion, just associated with this price action. So there you go. The guy is basically doing a pump and dump, in my opinion. I mean, since it's in the world of crypto, there may not be enough regulation to actually get him for doing market manipulation in this case, but it certainly smells of it, doesn't it? You accumulate a bunch of this asset before you announce, quote-unquote, good news about it. It has a nice move up. You sell some, I know he's sold some. I know that Tesla has sold some, at least. I don't know how much. Not really keeping up on that. Maybe they sold it all. Who knows? Anyway, they benefited from that upward price movement and did sell some of the position, at least, if not a lot of the position, for all I know. And now, after, I'm sure only after whatever position they wanted was determined, he's now said this, we're not accepting Bitcoin anymore. So, pump and dump, market manipulation. I mean, if this was a stock, a publicly traded company, under the SEC, rules, I'm sure that kind of behavior would qualify as market manipulation. But since it's crypto, I'm not so sure about that. Anyway, it'll be interesting to see what happens. But yeah, those are my thoughts. So yeah, I'd love to see one more move down to violate the spike lows tonight, and then I think we're, at least short term, gonna have a buy here, even if it's only for a partial move back up. Could be a nice little in and out trade, you know, catch, I don't know, catch a 5, 7, maybe $10,000 swing potentially, and then get out and see where the dust settles. Because again, we may very well be in that much larger, more time consuming corrective period, and this may just be the initial pattern within that larger pattern. We'll see. Anyway, not to ramble on too much here. Serial Trader signing off.